Welcome to Call One Tech TV. Today we're going to look at some of the industry-leading backup solutions and find out if they really are as good at protecting your data as they claim they are. You're going to be shocked when you see just how much effort goes into restoring your data versus what they tell you in the marketing materials. Make sure you stick with me through the entire video because a lot of things you're going to learn here will save you so much money in your business and so much aggravation in your personal life, you can't afford to miss out. So let's get this started. We're going to do a simulation of a computer that has some basic documents on it, like a Word document, spreadsheet, maybe a big presentation for a meeting, YouTube video, promotion, anything like that, some sort of video project you might be working on for school. As far as applications go, it's pretty sparse. We're going to have an old version of Microsoft Office for this test. You're probably going to have a lot more programs installed. Some of them may be some very complicated ones that you actually had to have your vendor install for you. I just wanted to keep it simple for this test. We're also going to have some files on the C drive. This is common if you have a program that saves things to its own unique folder, or if you just try to squirrel away some files that you want to back up yourself. Now that we know what the computer is going to look like for our test, let's start with our first program. We're going to look at Carbonite. Carbonite is a cloud-based backup solution that is extremely popular. I'm going to be using the 30-day trial in this test. I just want to go through the motions and show you what it's going to look like if you did use this to protect your data. I went ahead and selected all the defaults and just let it pick what it thinks is important as far as backing up. You can see that it shows 4.5 gigs of data. This is going to be like your desktop, your My Documents, things like that. So the first batch of files finished uploading. Now, this kind of surprised me. To Carbonite's credit, they've gotten better with this throughout the years. It actually detected the C drive folder that we talked about earlier, and now it's going to back that up. Previously, one of my biggest gripes about these types of software is they would selectively choose files to just ignore. This would be files that are too large or in strange places that they're not programmed to look for. But I always like to give credit where credit is due, so good job, Carbonite. And now our backup finished in about 2 hours. Now that the backup's complete, I want to do a test of the restore. This is where a lot of people have problems because the restore speed is ridiculously slow. It took us about 2 hours to upload the stuff, but let's see how long it takes to get it back. I'm just going to do this simple restore process where we take all the files that it's saved and download them to a different folder. Actually testing that your backup software will work is one of the most important steps that's often overlooked. You really don't want to find out that your backup software didn't work correctly after all your data has been destroyed. So once we pick a place that we want to restore the files to, we see this little progress bar and it looks like it's going to finish really fast, but then we realize that that is just the pre-staging and this is the part where we're actually downloading the information. To give this the best chance of success, I'm running this restore on off-peak hours using a Verizon Fios gigabit connection, and you can see the restore is barely using any of my bandwidth. Then I paused it and restarted the next day during peak hours. Strangely enough, the speeds are even faster during the daytime, which suggests a lot of throttling. It did take more than 6 hours to restore all the data that was uploaded in only 2, but at least it did get downloaded, so let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Make sure everything is all intact. Even though the restore speeds were definitely slow, it looks like the files downloaded fine. This is just an example of a PowerPoint presentation you may have. It's very important to take the time to actually inspect your files after they get restored. You should also look for strange anomalies like where it backed up the installed version of Quicken, which doesn't make any sense because without the files necessary in the registry and across Windows itself, this is just going to be useless and take up space in your backup. I don't really understand why it decided to pick this up. I guess it just saw the name Quicken and went with it. The last thing we're going to do is check this archive, make sure it's still good. Now we're going to get to the real fun. We're going to simulate what happens if you go into work, you turn your computer on, and the first thing you see is a message just like this. This is going to be a terrible way to start your morning. If you have an IT department, you're probably going to call them immediately. They're going to come to work on it. But if you are a small business owner, maybe you are the IT department and you just call someone for help when you need it, and you want to solve a lot of problems on your own, then this could start to get a little murky for you. In our simulation, we're going to assume that your hard drive is completely toasted, all your data is lost, and the only thing you're going to have left is what you backed up with Carbonite or whatever solution you were using. The first problem is, without being able to load Windows, you can't get to Carbonite to even restore any of your data. So hopefully you have the restore media that came with your computer. Don't beat yourself up if you don't have these disks. Some manufacturers won't even ship them anymore, and they're actually on the hard drive. That's right, they're on the same hard drive that just got destroyed. You're definitely going to be in trouble without those disks, so your journey may actually end here. But let's assume that you do have something to reinstall Windows with. So we're going to say that you lucked out, you did have the install media for Windows 10, which we were using in this example, and we're going to go and try to install it now. This is the first problem you're going to run into, the activation key. If you made your own Windows install media from Microsoft's website or you borrowed a disk from somebody, this is what's going to get you first. You're already doing better than most people that don't have anything at all, but you probably don't have this key. Maybe you have a computer that has a license key on the side of it, but what you don't know about that is that key will only work with the exact copy that was associated with your computer. And I can almost guarantee that you probably do not have the right disk for that key. But if you legally own the operating system, you can still install it without the key, and then you'll have to just deal with the manufacturer or Microsoft to get a valid key back. It's not a pleasurable experience, but it's definitely doable. Next up, you have to pick which version of Windows you're going to install. This can also get you into trouble because if you have a license for the Pro Edition but you install Home, you will most likely end up having to reinstall everything again even after you get your official license key back, because the key will only work with the correct version. So we're going to go through that. We're going to just speed through the install process. This took about an hour or so. It's probably going to take longer depending on your computer speed, but this is going to be generally what it's going to look like to rebuild Windows from complete scratch on a fresh hard drive. Remember, this isn't supposed to be a tutorial on how to reinstall the Windows operating system. I just want to show how many crossroads there are that you have the potential to make the wrong choice and end up having to restart the entire process. Just think about how much time you're going to waste having to keep attempting to reinstall everything just to be able to access your files that are backed up. Depending on which question you may answer incorrectly during this process, you might not have to do a complete restart, but there are certain things that will make it more difficult for you. Like here, if you select the wrong options, you'll actually send all your web history to Microsoft, as well as some tracking information. You might see more ads, things like that that are just generally annoying. So hopefully everything went well with that part. Now we're going to skip ahead to when everything's installed, and we're on the Carbonite website to download the client, which we're going to need to be able to restore our data. It's a little bit confusing because when you first log into the web page, there's a link to install Carbonite, but that will actually give you a client that can't help you restore your data. But once you get the right one installed, you'll see your files, and then we can start the restore process. But if we remember from before, that's still going to take another 8 or so hours just to get it back to where it was. So assuming you were able to beg, borrow, or steal a reinstalled disk from Microsoft Windows, and you didn't make too many mistakes, that took a few hours. Plus the restore time, you're talking about longer than the average workday just to get back to where we started before our hard drive crashed. And don't forget that we're technically running a trial version of Microsoft Windows, so without the activation key, you're going to have another long annoying call with Microsoft to prove that you actually own it and get it reactivated. Hopefully you won't have to reinstall everything and start over again if you installed the wrong version at this point. Carbonite lets you go on their website and download individual files because their restore process can take a really long time, but you can actually get the few files that you need so that you can work while it's going on. So let's test that out. Let's go ahead and get the files that were on the desktop, restore those. That will at least let us work on the presentation or whatever we need, because it's probably still business hours. Then when you try to open it, you can't because you don't have Microsoft Office installed and it's not part of the backup. So hopefully, since you made it this far, you have your Microsoft installed disks and all your licensing information. But I mean, let's be honest, most people do not have that. It came pre-installed with the computer and you just went with it. So that's going to be another thing you're going to have to solve. And that's a common problem with most of these cloud backup solutions. So I think we've all had enough fun with this time sink. Let's go and move on to something else. I want to show you an image-based backup solution. Cloud-based is file level. Now image-based actually takes a complete copy of your entire hard drive. There's many solutions available, but I'm going to show you this right here, which is Macrium Reflect. We're just going to go and we're going to back up an image to a thumb drive or an external hard drive that's locally connected. And I just want you to look at the workflow difference between this and Carbonite. You see you can set up backup plans right here, so you can have it manage your repositories, how many backups, how many copies. We're just going to have it run one single image. just so I can show you the difference when we back up with that. Notice there's no files to select because it backs up everything. Applications, Microsoft Office, files. If it's on the hard drive, it's backed up. The other thing you want to notice is how fast it was. That entire backup took only 5 minutes and 22 seconds. And that saved 18 gigs, which is a whole 10 gigs more than Carbonite did in 2 hours. But there's also a nice feature where you can do file level restores with an image as well. It's pretty cool. It lets you mount your image file as an external hard drive, and you can just drag and drop your files as you need them onto wherever you are. So you can use that to just replace these files we're going to delete right now for the test. Because just like we did with Carbonite, you always want to check your backups and make sure that they're actually valid. You don't want to get caught with broken backups when you need them. So the files look fine. We're actually going to go ahead and delete all of these so we can do the full restore. I'm going to completely erase the hard drive, and we're going to check out the workflow of Macrium Reflect versus Carbonite. So as you can see, it can't boot. We don't even get the Windows screen. This is like a completely blank hard drive. Now, Reflect gives you the opportunity to make rescue media, which is a bootable set of tools that you can use to recover your images. I cut that part out for time, but it's as simple as just writing it to a blank USB drive or a DVD. Very simple process. So now we're loaded into the tools. We can select our image that we just created from our thumb drive, external hard drive, or wherever else we stored it. And now this is just a graphical representation of what's on the image. We can do a file level restore here, but we're going to do a full image restore. This shows us what the hard drive looks like now. As you can see, it's empty. And then what it's going to look like when we copy the image file to it. So then once we hit next, we're going to see some more information about the restore process. Then it's going to give you a final confirmation because this is destructive. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing. And then it's going to start the restore process, which is similar to when Carbonite did that 8-hour restore over the internet after we installed Windows and downloaded the client, etc., etc. This is going to be a lot faster because it's locally attached to your computer. And again, we're restoring about double the data that Carbonite was. It just finished in 5 minutes. Then we're just going to do a restart, and we're going to see and test everything out. So the image level backup actually reinstalled Windows. All of our files that we deleted are there. They opened this time because it also brought back all of our applications. That's a huge step. We don't need any of the licensing information. We don't need to have any of the Microsoft Office disks. You don't have to call any vendors. You're exactly back in the point of time right when the image was taken. So your total downtime with an image-based backup solution is less than half an hour. Versus the other types of backups where you're talking about a day or so of downtime, assuming you have all the right CDs and licensing keys in the first place. If you don't even know. You could be down for a week. You might even need to buy new equipment. I understand that most people don't think about this sort of scenario because it's like if your house were to burn down. It's so catastrophic, it's easier just to pretend that it'll never happen. But in the event that it does happen, you really want to make sure that you're properly protected. Leave a comment below and tell me what kind of backup system you use for your home or business. There's plenty of options out there that'll get the job done, but you have to ask yourself, do you want an hour of downtime or multiple days of downtime? Time is money, and you need something that's going to get you back up and running as quickly as possible without a lot of hoops to jump through. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I like to post a lot of videos that are very helpful for people that are either freelancers, small business owners, or just anyone that doesn't like to have huge headaches when they're dealing with their computers. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.